Hi, I'm Heidi Hoger. I am Creativity School's Educational Director, and at Creativity School, we believe in inspiring and empowering the creators of tomorrow. Today, I would like to invite you to join me and my friend, Kathryn Otoshi, as we discuss her creative journey from childhood to becoming an author, illustrator, entrepreneur, and one of Creativity School's own teachers. So sit back, relax, don't forget to like and subscribe, and enjoy our visit. Hey, Kathryn.
Hey, Heidi.
How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. All right. Well, I just kind of wanted to, well, for one, thank you for being an awesome friend and friend to Creativity School, and just an awesome example for a lot of people, a lot of kids, an excellent woman who has made her own path in the world.
Well, thank you. It didn't just happen in like with a snap of the fingers. There was just kind of problems and challenges that we all have to overcome. And, getting to a place to realizing that I wanted to publish my own books or even being an artist was something that was certainly a journey.
Yeah, I like to call it a creative journey. It is
a creative journey, isn't it?
Yeah, in so many ways. So let me see how my facts line up with reality. You worked for Lucasfilms. Was an art designer, a director?
I was at Industrial Light and Magic, and they're the visual effects side of kind of the whole Lucas family and entertainment. And I was the graphic design multimedia art director, which gave a very long and lengthy title, but it's truly like the people that I was working with that brought the talent to the group. And we did a lot of different design for all the different Lucas companies at the time.
But then you decided that you wanted to go into books. Did it just one day you woke up and you were like, I think I'll try books?
I always loved books and reading and stories. And one thing that I see them almost like windows or doors that can open up our minds. And so when I look at a book, for example, see, it's good that I have this book right here. When you open it up, it is kind of like a door that opens up. And I can easily recall when I was, my mom loved books. She passed on that love and passion of reading to me. And so she would volunteer at the public library. And sometimes I would be there and wait for her. And one day, I was reading a book, and it occurred to me, oh my goodness, there's talking creatures in there. There's new people I can meet. There's new lands I can, kind of investigate and explore through the power of a book. And then when I looked around, of course, there was hundreds of books. And I'm like, wow, they're all magical portals that I can walk through. And that's how I saw books. And so I always wanted to be connected to that magic.
Yeah, just an explosion of imaginations in those books.
Just all around where you can, see, somebody else's perspective and experience someone else's culture or explore someone else's imagination. I feel like it's kind of nice to explore somebody else's thoughts. And
very healthy, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And it's not just one or two people, these are thousands. And millions of people that have put their imaginations and ideas out there and collaborated.
Reading and collaboration too, with the art and the writing and how the design brings it all together. So it's a pretty magical world out there, having books be a part of your life.
Well, my librarian heart approves that message.
That's right.
So you decided to pursue the traditional route of publishing. You tried that out, and you have been published traditionally, but you've also started your own business?
Yeah, I did. So what happened was I really kept hearing, as an adult, how hard it was to, get a children's picture book published and don't quit your day job and so forth. And I thought about that, and I was working in the film industry, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to quit my day job just yet, and even afterwards I was freelancing, and I decided to just go ahead and what would it be like to kind of look under the hood of the car and see how it works. And it was kind of this new adventure that I felt like I was pioneering. At the time, it was not something that was condoned as much to self-publish. In fact, it was discouraged. But I kept saying, this is just something that I'm going to discover. It's not something, it's my expensive hobby. So I treated it almost like this very expensive hobby that I was doing. And it was such a passion for me that I just wanted to keep it going. And it didn't need at the time to make money. It was something that I just felt like I wanted to learn about. And I knew that I wanted to continue doing through the rest of my life. I learned more about how to do things. And then it took a few tries, but then I got one of my books started to take off, and the rest was history.
Yeah, it was the one, and it is titled One, and
yeah, it was the one. And why not, be like the one to publish it yourself? Because that was the one book that people were saying, oh, you should go through the traditional route. And I'm like, yeah, but it's about the power of one. And, here I am.
Yeah,
to do stuff on my own. So let's just see what happens if I do it by myself. Of course, with a book, you have a lot of people that end up supporting and helping you. My husband was very supportive, and friends were supportive, and friends like you still support books and reading and support other artists. So it becomes a community.
Yeah, I feel like our community is very supportive of each other. There's healthy competition. Everyone wants to succeed, but it's not that cutthroat business mentality that, other businesses have,
I think it's really important to foster a nurturing environment. And, Ari and I met through a critique group too, where it was called a critique group, but it's really kind of a group where we nurtured each other's stories and talked about art. So even, as kids, growing up, you have the support of your friends, but, as artists too, we grow and we need support from other artists and to get other perspectives. And that's why, creativity school is really wonderful for that.
That you're right. That is one of my favorite things about the school, that global awareness of different ways that we do things. And also just to see, I love seeing the kids inspire each other and be motivated by each other. And
yes.
Yeah.
Because you have such a range, all, doing these great Zoom classes, and anybody can access it. I mean, you get a range from the world is your oyster, so to speak. Everybody is contributing.
Yeah. And we're opening up to older groups too. So, that's a journey that I can't wait to see, as they progress. There are some kids who, they've learned all that they can from the classes that we have, and they're ready to move on. And it's just amazing to see. But so speaking of which, let's go back to your childhood, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So was there a lot of fostering of creativity, of art?
I think in the beginning, definitely. I remember clearly at a young age, would be excited that I was drawing, and I would show them things, and that love certainly was nurtured. And I feel like I had also time to draw. I made time to draw. So art was a huge part of my childhood.
And was there ever a point where your family was like, okay, that's enough. It's time to put that away and be serious about your schoolwork, your academics? Go make money now.
I think that's part of the obstacles is, you are working and, trying to get better at drawing or painting or, whatever creative venture that you're interested in. Then it's sort of this thing where I feel like you're obligated to kind of put it away and then now get serious about something. And it's interesting. I think some of the reason why we put our creativity to the side and just say, now I need to get serious. It's because we don't know how to make a living at it. And we don't know how to bring the practical aspects of how do I keep doing this now? And I did not know how to do it. So I think most of us have to realize that, how do we incorporate art and make a living at it to be able to continue and foster it. So I think that's why for a while I was thinking I had to put it aside. Thankfully, I did not completely, but there was a period of time where I was told, that get serious kind of thing.
Yeah. And we hear that from everybody, it's not just ourselves. It's not just our parents. We hear it from teachers and schools, and creativity is, there's this, statistic where a lot of creative development stops around 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And that's where they stop. You can look at an adult's drawings and a 6th grader's drawings, and a lot of times they're going to be very similar. And that is, I think that's a mentality that we need to change, because art and creativity are so healthy for those teenage years, ways of expressing and communicating what you're going through?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, so much about my own stories come from, challenges or problems that, I have. Even going back to my childhood and remembering some things that happened related to bullying that still bothers me to, things that have to do with diversity or, how do we come together, after a conversation where, you don't agree on something, or after you've had an argument. And all my books have to do with problems and kind of overcoming these challenges.
I think it is a way for people to connect with others and say, okay, I'm not alone in this feeling, in this experience that I'm having, and this is the way that Kathryn resolved it.
Yeah.
What are my options? Can I do it the way she did it? Or,
I was saying this to someone else, but, books are so important, at least picture books, because for me, we learn visually, we learn audibly through sound, and they're being read to, so our minds are engaged. And then as you and I are connected with, character building, we learn through our hearts too, and we learn by being inspired. And then we certainly learn through our bodies. And so when we take some of these concepts of kindness, for example, or doing a project that relates to action and combining kindness together, we see something tangible being created. And then when we look at it, then we're forever reminded, oh, I did that project to relate to kindness or being kind to somebody. So that's how I feel like books and reading and creativity and is how we all learn in its entirety with all the senses.
Yeah, I agree. It's all connected. And I think it's a beautiful woven web.
Yeah, it really is. It's like how we're all connecting and also just it's about communication. Art is so much about expression and communication. And I really feel like the passion to want to reach out and to tell a narrative or to communicate an idea or a concept is sort of what is a driving force, at least for me, and I think a lot of artists.
All right. So you mentioned inclusivity and diversity, how maybe as a child you felt maybe a little bit different than some of the other people. Was that a prominent feature in your youth?
Yeah, it was a huge part of my youth that I never actually talked about while I was going through it. But I lived in an area that for whatever reason at the time, to my memory, there was nobody that really looked like our family for a very long time. And I felt that I did not physically belong. And I feel like I used art as a way to make me sort of understand the world a little bit better. But it also was something that I brought into my own art later, where I talked a little bit about how you see yourself in the world and how you look for that in the world. And, it makes you feel like you want to belong. And so what I started to realize through art and expressing myself and through writing and also character building, what we've talked about, courage, kindness, and being brave are all things that it took a long time to develop, but I realized those are things that are lasting. So I very much connect my art and creativity, but also how we treat others and kindness and how we express ourselves as artists, all kind of together to kind of embody who you are. And it's filled up that hole that I had since childhood. And I feel like it's really made me into the person I am today. And I guess if we're working conceptually, the goal is we fill ourselves up with creativity, with kindness, with being respectful, with being more open-minded, and it gets so full that it overflows, and we're able to emote and express these things.
What advice do you have for reaching out? For kids to reach out and to help others.
A lot of times it can just start off with a hello, and your hi can make someone's day. Just by, noticing them and seeing them, and it's important to be seen. And I think that that's really important the reach out can start off simply. And then if you felt the desire to start including. And it's just one step at a time. And sometimes it's hard to be that person to kind of walk over to somebody else. They might say no. Maybe they want to spend this time by themselves. But a lot of times when we're trying to find our own voice, and if you think of that person who's sitting there by themselves, it's almost like you kind of warm up the situation to an engaging one.
I love that. I think there's so much value in the action, in doing something. We can see a problem and wish we could fix it, but it's not until we take action, we do something, we extend that hand or that invitation.
And it's not easy for any of us. Sometimes we just get overwhelmed with our own thing. And that's why it goes back to opening up our perspectives when we read, when we're expressing ourselves, when we're doing art, when we're surrounding ourselves with other perspectives and other artists and creative people. It does open ourselves up to be more empathetic.
Did you want to talk about what you're doing right now? Any projects that you have going on?
So some of the projects I'm working on, I am working on something called Lunch Every Day. That's a new book, and also a new book called Calling the Wind. Both of them have to do with something that I've been experiencing the last few years. Lunch Every Day has to do with a friend of mine who I became close to simply because I was doing, I was invited to speak to his schools, and then he kept inviting me back to his schools, and we became friends over the course of a few years. And he does all these anti-bullying programs and gang interventions and community building programs and initiatives. And I was so impressed. And so one day, we went to lunch together, and I was like, you're so amazing. How do you do it all? And he kind of looked at me and he said, I was a bully growing up. And he says, I just wanted to tell you that.
Wow.
Kind of like almost like a fess up. And I said, I almost dropped my fork, and I said, really? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what turned you around? And he talked about how somebody did something for him that was very thoughtful and kind, and it made him think and see himself as somebody of value. And because the person just didn't do it once, but did it over and over every day, it had a huge lasting impact. And my friend Jim saw himself differently and saw a different path that he can take. And he realized that he decided to take a very positive path and go in the direction of helping others in education. Yeah, Jim takes this kid's lunch at school every day, and people look at his actions and, of course, are upset by his behavior. And no one can really change him, but no one is asking why. Why does Jim take somebody else's lunch? Why is it a lunch? Is he hungry? Yeah, like what's going on with him? And when we take a moment to think beyond just the initial reaction, we start realizing there's a lot more to this kid than meets the eye. And Jim himself wishes he can break out of the stigma of being a bully, but certainly that's what he feels like he's built around him, is this label. And what happens is one day the kid who he's been picking on and taking lunch invites the whole class to a party, and Jim's not going to go, but everybody's going. And at the last minute, he has a change of heart. And this is everybody being invited. This is sort of what you call an F&G. It's a folded and gathered version of the book. And then what happens is, he has a kind of this change of heart the day of, and he decides that he's going to try and go. So I kind of have this whole thing, and this is where art comes into, but where he's walking up to the kid's house, and it feels like this huge thing where even the stairs, there's this perspective of him kind of going up, and what happens is he goes there, sees the mom. I'm holding the kid's birthday cake, and everybody's sort of in the living room celebrating, and he's thinking, I'm going to leave. Everybody's here. I don't fit in. But while he's sitting in the living room, the mom sees him, and she marches right up to him, and he's like, I am in so much trouble. And he's thinking, she's going to yell at me. Everybody's going to hear. I'm so please don't yell. And she says to him, kind of in a real quiet voice, she kneels down and says, Jimmy, what would you like for lunch tomorrow? And he's thinking nothing. I don't want anything, but he's all tongue-tied. And she says, I hear you like my lunches. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a second lunch, and my son will bring it for you every day. Okay? And he says, you know what? She did. And that's how I got lunch every day and a whole lot more.
Aww.
And so, Jim Perez is a real person and one of my favorite people on the planet.
Wow. And you're publishing this yourself? This will be through your publishing?
Kids books. Yeah. And then another book called Calling the Wind, which has to do with the wind telephone in Japan, was done by somebody who basically his cousin passed away and he did not know how to voice his grief. And so tangibly what he did is he got a European phone booth and installed it in his backyard garden, and he would go there, and it wasn't connected to anything, but he would talk to his cousin, and it really helped release the words and express themselves. And then after the tsunami hit several years ago,
10
people found out about the booth and asked if they can go there to talk. And then it's become a mecca for people to be able to express grief, but find the words to talk to the person that's passed away. And we talk about passing away, but love certainly continues on. Our love for that person. And I kind of believe, just like the wind, you can't see it, but it's there. We don't know what's sort of out there, but I believe that by thinking and intention, there is a way for loved ones to know and to hear. And so I had somebody in my own life that passed away, and my friend Trudy, who's the author, had her sister pass away, and it was really hard to find the words. And then Calling the Wind came about because afterwards she told me about this wind telephone, and we knew that was the book that we both wanted to collaborate on. And it truly is a book about hope and healing.
Wow. Oh, and I think that especially at this time is so meaningful.
Yeah. And we experience loss in different ways. And so a loss of a relationship or a loss of a physical person that we love, their physicality is no longer with us, but how does that transpire for us to still continue loving somebody?
And that one, do you have release dates or anything for either of these yet? Or is it still pending?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but just so you know, it's it should be out next. In fact, I could say it. It should be out next year, probably in fall. We're still settling in on a date, but
I want it now.
That's through Penguin Random House. So
really, oh my goodness!
And different kinds of illustrations too. You can see some of them that I'm working on in the back. My studio space, just for kids out there, is very small. It's just a room. It's not this huge space, and we kind of make do with what we have and be resourceful. But I didn't have big wall panels that I had before that can move around. But the door works too. Just use the door. So everything has just become a way where we adjust and evolve.
Wow. Well, I can't wait for either of those books. I'm so excited for what you create always. Thanks. And I love Trudy. I'm so glad that you were working with her on that. But I love her books though.
Together.
Yes, I am floored by that. I'm so excited. I cannot imagine how meaningful that book will be.
It's a totally different book for her and I too. It's such a collaborative process where we're really talking about the art together and she's talking about the writing. I just feel like it's the perfect book for us to do together. But we've been talking for years about, hey, what's the book we can do? And finally one just, fell in our lap. But it's really the book for us to do.
Yeah. Well, I know she writes this just very meaningful, but in ways that kids completely understand, and you do too.
Thoughtful person, certainly somebody that I just admire as a human being. Yeah. Just a truly empathetic and good person. So I'm lucky. I look to her all the time to figure out how to become a better human being.
I don't think you need much practice.
a lot to work on. So but, that's what we do. We practice, right, Heidi?
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, it's taken me 42 plus years. I'm not nearly as close as I need to be, or I expect myself to be, I guess. But
Like I said, Heidi, you're young at heart, because honestly, I was wondering if you were 22. So you look like young.
No, I get older every day.
I do too. Older, but hopefully a little wiser.
Some days. Well, it has been so awesome to visit with you again.
It's been awesome for me too, Heidi. It's just always a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no, thank you for accepting. We hope you enjoyed our visit. If you would like to read Kathryn's books, visit your local bookstore or a local library. To learn more about Creativity School, check the links below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our creative journeys or videos from Creativity School.